Hi. Hello. Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening. I don't know why I've started saying good afternoon first, but it just seems to have become a habit. Anyway, there it is. Yesterday at work was pretty brutal. This job I was working on, I feel like it should have been simple because we're not even cutting the boards for the client. The client provided their own boards and their own laid out artwork, taking up the whole board, and I just had to prepare it for print. But the part that made it hard was that on some of them they wanted the board to show through because it was like high grade apple plywood with nice grain, and in order for things to print properly, you have to put white under some of the elements, white ink under some of the elements, or they'll just be washed out and it won't be a good effect. But that means in Illustrator isolating all those parts, then shrinking them by a teensy tiny amount, minus 0.005 inches, so that the white doesn't sneak out past the image and look tacky. Anyway, so that took forever. And then in the process of doing that, the text, any colored text, had to be outlined. And that means that it takes like live text, which can be edited as text with typing, you know, and turns it into just shapes that look like text. And that's necessary in order to do that white layer thing that I just described. Well, sometimes when you outline text in Illustrator, for some reason, after the outlining is done, some of the letters move. Some of them like suddenly jump onto each other, or like weird spaces appear. And I've had this bite me in the butt before with English text that I just didn't notice that it happened to. I don't think I knew before that job that this sometimes happens. But I learned in that job. But with this job that I was working on, some of the text was Chinese characters, and I don't know Chinese at all. I do not know how to read Chinese. I don't know how it should look. I don't know what the proper spacing between all the characters are. So I didn't notice that this had happened. And we were like pretty much ready to print all the original, all my original like proofs had been approved, but the project manager sent the print proof that showed the white layer to the client, and the client noticed these couple spaces and said, move this to the left. And so I did that on the two art pieces it had happened to. But apparently, like, they weren't all supposed to move evenly. I don't know. There was like this colon in both pieces of text that then needed to be moved even further. And this was like a long process because of the white layer, like, and because of the proof. Like every time I made an edit, I had to go back to the proof, edit it there, resave it as a new version of the proof, copy the new version over into a working file, and then save it as a print file. And I think I did this like 3 times. And the last time I kind of messed up and like accidentally didn't copy over the backgrounds because I had to lock the backgrounds in order to move the text, because the background kept moving every time I tried to move the text. and I forgot to unlock it before I copied it because I was exhausted. I was really tired of this job by that point. Anyway, thankfully the printer caught it on my contact sheet. And so I was able to fix it before it printed on the client's expensive substrate that they bought. Oh my God. It was like one thing after another yesterday. It was so tiring. I'm so glad that job is over. And I know it's over because they were printing it last night. Although maybe they didn't have everything printed by the time I left, so I suppose there could be something on my desk when I get in this morning that no one noticed until it went to print, but I really sincerely hope not. Ugh. I'm really looking forward to not having this job. I mean, my brain is just completely toast after a day like that. I did manage to do something productive yesterday, though, when I got home, and we'll get to that. But first, I'm going to I'm going to read 15 fears that I wrote down yesterday while I was writing my morning pages after I recorded yesterday's episode. Because I think that these fears, which I previously had only just like minorly acknowledged, like they'd kind of flit through my brain, but I was like kind of trying to ignore them or not pay attention to them and just power through them. But I don't think that's a good idea. I think I need to look at them, acknowledge them, feel them, and address them. So, because I think they're holding me back from taking important steps, and I don't think I'm going to be able to make myself take those important steps until I've really looked at these fears. So, fear number 1, I'm afraid that I do still need to get an interlock device if I'm going to get my license back. I'm afraid that doing so, getting the interlock device, is going to be expensive. I'm afraid I'll fail the driving test. I'm afraid that it will be complicated to get the license, interlock device, and insurance. After I got my DUI, at first my insurance company said that they wouldn't drop me, but then they dropped me. And then it wasn't immediate though, so I think that they weren't going to until maybe, I don't know. I'm not gonna make things up. I have no idea why they dropped me after they said they wouldn't. But at the same time, my partner at the time had a really hard time getting insurance simply because I was in the house with a DUI on my record. So I know that at least for the first year, it could be tough to get insurance. I know that there is an insurance company around here that will insure people that have had a DUI. And my previous insurance company had sent me a letter stating that they would take me back after a year with a clean driving record. And I think they might even just take me back now because they've started sending me like mailers about how I have my homeowner's insurance with them, but not my car insurance. I'm like, that's because you dropped me, and also because I don't have a vehicle. But, and when I called and talked to someone about my homeowner's insurance policy recently after I had to do my home survey, he said, I've noticed that you don't have your car insurance with us. Would you like me to transfer you to one of our car insurance agents? I was like, I don't have a vehicle, so no. But I think the fact that they're offering me insurance means that my DUI may have fallen off their record. That's my hope, because it is, like, I think the best insurance company in the nation. But anyway, back to my list. This piles on top of the last one. I'm afraid that it will be difficult to insure my vehicle, both because of my DUI and because I plan to live in it full time. Oh yeah, one of the scarier videos I watched on van living recently was talking about how a lot of RV and like recreational vehicle insurance policies don't cover you if you live in your vehicle full time. So that's another consideration. I have to find insurance that will cover a full live-in situation. They've got to exist. There's so many RVers, like permanent RVers and van lifers out there. It must exist. I'm afraid I'm going to fail in so many ways, some of which I haven't even imagined yet. I am afraid that I am going to wreck my home, my van. I'm afraid I am going to be harassed. I can almost guarantee that I'm going to be harassed. That is not just none of these I think are groundless fears. I'm afraid I'm going to squander my money and wind up truly homeless, like without even a van to live in. I don't think I'm going to squander my money. That is not my MO. But I think I'm afraid that like just one thing after another will happen, like it has been happening to my house. Although I did watch a video yesterday from a woman who moved from a house into a van and said that her expenses went way down. Like the maintenance on, or no, she moved into a motorhome. She said that the maintenance and repair expenses on her motorhome, while constant, are far less than they were on her house. So that is encouraging. Let's see here. I am afraid I am going to fail before I even get started because I am too chicken shit to even call about my license or call my the wealth management company that my parents use to begin planning my finances. I haven't done either of those things yet, and every time I try to, like, my body shuts down. Like, I am too chicken shit right now, and I really don't want that to hold me back. I think I'm gonna have to do a lot of tapping on those subjects or something. I don't know. I don't know what needs to happen there. I know it's not a permanent obstacle. I will find a way to work through this, but it is there. I'm afraid I can't handle it. I'm afraid I can't find community even amongst van lifers. I'm afraid my house won't sell for enough. I'm afraid taxes will take too much of that sale. I am afraid that I will regret this decision. That's the one I'm actually least afraid of. It used to be a bigger fear, but no. I've lived in this house for 16 years. I've loved it. But it's also been 16 years of just feeling like I cannot keep up with it. And I don't think I'm going to regret letting it go. I don't. And I'm just really looking forward to seeing what is ahead. Then last night, I noticed that I had some other kind of buried feelings that I was trying not to acknowledge, because I didn't really feel like I'm allowed to have them. And those feelings are concerning my friend who recently was in a terrible accident and then got diagnosed with something deeply concerning. And of course, I'm allowed to feel sad and upset for him about that. But the feelings I was trying to ignore were the pity for myself, because he has been one of my staunchest supporters, someone I could rely on. Like, even if we hadn't talked in months, I could just call him up and he would take me to an air show to cheer me up. Like, I have totally just relied on him in my mind. I don't think I even realized how much. I was consciously not taking him for granted, but I don't think I understood just to what extent I relied on knowing that he was there for me until he's put in a position where he's going to be hospitalized for quite a long time. And even though he's still alive, I feel like I have to grieve my friend, or at least aspects of him, and at least for now, because he doesn't have the capacity to be there for me in that same way that he used to. And that, like, seems so selfish, and I kept like thinking like that was so shitty of me. Like, he must be going through such trauma right now. Like, so my friend that I hung out with occasionally with and like texted occasionally with, suddenly doesn't have the capacity to do that anymore. Oh, poor me. Like, he doesn't even get to see his dog. He doesn't get to finish out his racing season with his motorcycle at the racetrack. He doesn't, like, he just lost. And he easily gets stir crazy and likes to move around a lot. Like, being stuck in a hospital for a long time is going to be one of the greatest trials of his life, I think. How dare I be upset on my end is kind of how I was subconsciously looking at it. But both can be true at the same time. Like, his situation can be so much worse than mine, and I can still grieve the aspects of him that he's no longer able to give. I'm allowed to grieve that. Like, he had offered to help me clean up my yard, like a full, like, makeover, ripping out blackberries and trimming things back with the help of his brother and his brother's trailer. And that's not going to happen now. I'm allowed to be sad about that. I'm allowed to be disappointed about that without blaming him, without like diminishing his trials and tribulations. I'm allowed to feel my feelings. So I'm really glad that I finally acknowledged those last night and sat down and journaled about them after work. And I decided to share it here because I've heard and read several times that the things that you're most afraid to talk about are probably the things that someone else most needs to hear. So the fact that I was feeling so ashamed of my own feelings about this means that probably am not the only one that has had to acknowledge these unfashionable feelings and face them and accept them and feel them without diminishing them or invalidating them. Yeah. Okay. I think that is everything. So, and that brings us to our daily Natalie Goldberg Writing Down the Bones deck card. We are on card number 35. When you see a person experiencing homelessness holding a sign on the corner, what do you think, feel, do? Write about it for 10 minutes. Tell me about one specific person. You haven't paid attention? Look next time and tell me about him, her, or them. Ooh, I dropped it. And on the back. Do you know someone who has been or is homeless? Have you been? Tell me. There is the painful, concrete truth of homelessness. There is also the feeling that you personally don't belong anyplace. What's that like? And once again, I feel like this card just ties in so neatly with what I've been talking about. Feelings we don't like to talk about. I've heard studies that most people, when they see homeless people, do not see a person, they see an object. And I don't think we can pass judgment on people that see homeless people that way. I think it is a function, like a defense mechanism of the mind. I think it can be overcome. I don't know that I've ever seen them as objects. I don't think I have, although I have looked at them with derision in the past. But now, if I see a homeless person and they seem mentally sound, I will make eye contact with them and smile and nod and acknowledge their presence. But if they do not seem mentally sound for whatever reason, whether it be substances or mental illness, I do not make eye contact with them because that can invite some undesirable encounters. But I still see them as people. And yeah, it's just like one of those things that we don't want to face. And I think maybe a lot of people have a hard time looking at homeless people because they don't want to imagine themselves in that person's place. And I have imagined myself as homeless many times. I feel like it's been pretty much a constant possibility in the back of my mind since I was a teenager. And I'm not sure, but I think that part of that is because of my neurodivergence, which I was not diagnosed with until much later in life. But I always knew that I was very different and that I had a much harder time just coping with day-to-day life than everyone around me. And it took, and still takes, enormous effort to keep up with what's expected of me. And especially with days like yesterday, I really, really was close to just casually walking out the door and not looking back. Like, that thought dropped into my mind quietly. It was just like, pick up your stuff and go. So it's like, I'd really love to. I would so love to, but I think that is an action I would regret because I think it would cost me a lot in the long run. If I can get through these next few months and set myself up, I will have a longer runway and more comfort in knowing that I have a big savings that I can rest on for a while without pushing myself to immediately figure out how I'm going to make money. And I think that if I walk out on my job right now, I'm not going to have as much runway. And I think I would end up being really mad at myself for that. So I'm going to try to be as gentle with myself as possible. But anyway, yeah. And I, it also ties in because I even wrote down and shared as one of my fears that I'm going to run out of money and I'm going to lose my vehicle or I'm going to wreck it and I'm going to end up homeless, like really, truly homeless. It's always a fear. So anyway, I encourage you to explore that topic. It is rich and deep. And perhaps you will learn something about yourself. Anyway, I love you so much. Thank you so much for being here. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be wealthy. May you feel at ease. And may you love and accept yourself exactly as you are right now, here, today, in this moment, even if none of those things that I mentioned before apply to you right now. Okay. See you tomorrow.